thought I should make a video on something I don't like talking about. It is something that unfortunately is the reality of becoming any sort of YouTuber or content creator of any kind on any social media platform where you garner any sort of actual attention, where you gain a following of some sort of significance, because then the more and more people that watch your stuff, the more and more people that care about the stuff you watch, and the more and more that people do nasty things and say nasty things. And it's the internet, and I get that 99.9% of it is irrelevant and unserious, but it's mentally grating and it sucks. I'm about to show you just one of, unfortunately, hundreds of death threats I've seen made to friend of the channel and fellow content creator Nintendo Land. This is one of the ones I'm fairly certain is completely unserious, as I think most of them are. But I've seen some pretty nasty ones that I just don't even feel like I can even show in a video. I honestly think YouTube might strike my channel if I did. So just look at this. Nintendo Land has so many takes. We gotta... You see what's being said. Now, obviously, that to me is pretty unserious and maybe one of the weakest examples of what he's been experiencing. But I've seen quite a few myself. I thought he was maybe exaggerating when he said in a recent video that I'm going to look up right now that he has been experiencing a lot of death threats and how easy it is to find them. I literally found that last night. It was like the third message down, just typing his name on X. And the thing is, it's not just on X. Nintendo Land dropped this video yesterday saying, "Let's talk." That might not be the most flattering part of the video to pause. Maybe that's a bit more flattering for Landon, but he has been experiencing a ton of vitriol on the internet. And none of it's okay, even though some of it is essentially human behavior. I have often made jokes on my live streams and even in my videos at times that I'm one of the most hated, if not the most hated Nintendo YouTubers in the world. And I know that's not actually a fact. Anyone who's bigger than me with bigger followings than me gets more hate than I do, right? So Nintendo Land being a nearly 375,000 subscriber YouTube channel, he's 374, is what, more than twice the size of my channel. Also gets like 2 to 3 times the views I get for being that size. And because of that, he gets a lot of vitriol, a lot of hate. And in particular, I don't think it's the disagreeing with his opinions that bothers him based on watching his entire 22-minute video and reacting to it on stream yesterday. Really, it's all about the 1% that's very loud and doesn't stop. And the 1% are people that threaten his life. People that speak ill of him in a way that it almost feels personal. Remember, Landon, aka Nintendo Land, is someone on the internet giving their opinions about video games. I am someone on the internet that reports on news and gives my opinions on video games. And yeah, maybe you don't like his titles or thumbnails and think they're all clickbait. Maybe you don't like my titles or thumbnails and think they're clickbait. Maybe you think that of beat 'em ups and everyone else, beat 'em ups, the level of vitriol he gets is even more. Reality is, none of us deserve death threats. I've received many of them. I've received satellite imagery of my children's school. I have had their lives get threatened. I've had the lives of my fiance be threatened. If you've ever been a content creator that gains any sort of notoriety, any sort of following, you'll know that this is just something that happens. And yes, nothing bad has obviously happened. I'm still here. I'm still alive and healthy. My kids are still alive and healthy. They're playing outside right now because we have this weird 80-degree day, thanks to the blob and all the stuff going on if you're following weather and all of that, in the middle of October. So yeah, it's really unfortunate that we deal with this stuff. Now, obviously, I'm in a better mental state than Nintendo Land is because I'm older. I've been through this ringer before. I went through this ringer when I was editor-in-chief of Zelda Informer. I had death threats back then when that channel started, or not channel, man, we were calling it a channel, a website. When that website started getting millions of views a month, and then the Facebook page grew to almost 1 million followers, got death threats on the Facebook page, all over opinions on video games or thoughts on video games, or thinking everything is clickbait. Like, as mad as you can get at content, none of it should ever go to that personal level where you're wishing that level of evil on someone, that level of death, whether you are wishing someone would do it for you or that you want to do it yourself. Let alone what's happened on YouTube where it's gotten even more personal, where because I'm on camera, for some reason, me being on camera gives people this idea that you're allowed to get even more personal and try to dig up literal information on my family, and even dig up like old publicly listed phone numbers and try to call them and threaten them. And it turns out that's not their numbers anymore. But now I have people who, live in the area who recognize the last name. So then they look up, they get a hold of me and they're like, hey, why did I get this phone call threatening to kill your mom? Yeah, that's pretty fucked up. There's been some weird situations I've been through, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is like happening all the time with me. It's not. Everything I'm talking about right now has happened over the last 8 years, kind of spread out. The last real serious death threat that I even noticed, I'm not saying that they're not happening online, I just don't see them. But the last real serious one was the satellite imagery of my children 2 years ago. That was scary. It's the first time I saw someone threaten my kids because of me being a content creator. It sucks. So I obviously know all of this stuff is pretty non-serious. And yeah, in cases like that, I have the authorities involved. But the point is that a lot of this stuff is pretty non-serious. We know, and I'm sure Landon knows this as well, he's still alive, right? He's still alive. He's healthy. He doesn't have people knocking on his door. But we live in a world where there's been some scary shit happening. We're not going to get into the realm of politics or whatever. But we know being a public figure and just having opinions is enough that it just takes one person, just one. Well, 99.9% of these threats are not real. It just takes one. And we're having a very different conversation. If we're having one at all, if I'm the one that it happened to. Thankfully, we obviously have not experienced a situation where any sort of Nintendo YouTuber or gaming YouTuber has actually lost their life because of this sort of stuff and these online threats. And I know how unserious it is, but I think the people that are in that mental state where they think it's okay to even say it out loud in frustration at content or wishing the content no longer existed, even though you have the 100% ability to curate your own content online. You can block content creators. You can literally block words that involve, you literally can just prevent yourself from ever seeing or even being aware of the content that we make. You just choose not to. You choose not to do a basic Google search and, hey, how do I block seeing this content creator's videos? How do I block seeing tweets about this person? Literally everything is at your fingertips to Google and take 5 minutes of your time to ensure you never see our stuff again, so you don't have to be frustrated by it. But instead, you want to quote tweet, you want to comment, you want to run to Reddits and everywhere else and talk about how you wish we would just die or that you want to kill us yourselves. That sucks. And I wish that, while I feel like most of this stuff is very unserious, and of course, as I said, no one's actually, at least that I'm aware of in the gaming sphere, had one person snap and do anything like that. I think you can understand that when we look at what's happening in the world with public figures, that it gives us a lot of pause. It makes us really wonder, is this fun anymore? Is making content fun when you know on the other side of it, as unserious as the death threats might be, that it only takes one, and I have a family. Family can't, my children can't have dad not come home from the grocery store because one person snapped. Now, I don't want to make this too much about me because honestly, the level of vitriol I get is mostly just people screaming clickbait or thinking I'm a shitty human over opinions on video games. But again, kind of what irrelevant stuff that just bounces off me. And you know, again, I haven't had any like what I would consider serious death threats in a couple of years. But watching Landon talk about this and seeing some of the things that I've just noticed, just literally not even looking for it, just typing Nintendo Land on different social media websites and going to like latest posts, latest comments. And I kid you not, just before I made this video, I was just, you know, I was waiting for my video to upload. It only took a few minutes, but in the few minutes, I was just looking some stuff up. I literally saw over 25 different death threats just looking for a few minutes to Nintendo Land. That's what I saw, barely looking for it. Imagine that you are Landon and you get the tags and the notifications on your phone, and you're sitting there with your family, your friends, you're playing, you know, in his case, probably Mario Galaxy 2, or maybe he's playing something else, right? He plays games on other platforms. Maybe he's playing Astrobot or something, and he gets a ding on his phone, and he glances down, and it's another random person threatening to kill him. That's the notification he just got pinged for. And it happens so often that Landon has to make a video because he doesn't know how to process this. He doesn't know how to deal with it. And now the level of vitriol he's getting, just, you know, let alone beyond the death threats, are making him question if content creation is worthwhile. Because now content creation and negativity around Nintendo, including his own at times, is making him have less fun with games that he knows he'd have more fun with if he just wasn't a content creator at all. Now, he's not going to stop making content. He's going to keep going. But I think things have to hit this level where society online needs to start realizing that your words matter and that you need to start thinking beyond yourself about the realities of what you're doing. Because when you encourage that level of vitriol, when you encourage the death threats, when you encourage the extremely hateful comments about a person over opinions on video games, or clickbait and content you don't like, when you go to that high level of vitriol, regardless if you personally would ever do anything, like, I don't think anyone who's ever made a threat against me would ever actually do anything. What you are doing is normalizing the behavior to the point where people start to think it's just okay to do it because others are doing it. And then it just takes that one, as I said, that one person to go too far. And maybe they wouldn't have gone so far if it didn't seem acceptable, if it didn't seem to them like so many people want this, right? Right? The level of death threats he's getting, one bad actor can look at that and go, man, so many people want him dead. I'm going to do it and be praised for it. That's what happens when you normalize it. This shouldn't be normal. I know it comes with the territory, and I know I've gotten threats myself, but my threats are far and few between. You actually have to dig and dig and dig to even find one publicly. They're out there, but you have to really search for it. I didn't for him. That comment I showed at the beginning of the video, less than 3 seconds for that one comment. And that's probably one of the lighter ones based on other ones that I also read. And God knows how many he's seen. We need to do better. Now, I have some private advice and conversations I have with Landon. I've already reached out. We're going to be talking soon because, look, you know, he's younger than me. Obviously he's growing up with the internet, whereas, you know, I did too, but in a different way. You know, I had my MySpace profiles back in the day, and AOL Instant Messenger, and MSN Gaming Zone, and Yahoo chat rooms, and, you know, all that stuff back in the day. ASL, anyone? So I was there in the very early days of the internet. And I kind of grew up and watched it evolve and watched it shift from something that felt mostly positive to now something that feels extremely negative. And I do want to note that obviously a majority of his fans support him, believe in him, think he's a great guy, even if they don't agree with his opinions. And a majority of people that watch my channel probably feel the same way. I mean, I'm not going to put words in your guys' mouth, but I do see that we have a majority of positive comments on most of the stuff I post. Even people who disagree with me don't often go to the levels that we're talking about here, right? They can just not like my content and leave it alone, right? But yeah, so I'm going to have some private conversations with Landon, and that stuff's going to remain private. You know, the stuff I have to tell him is stuff that should remain between me and him, because I think it'll help him not be so mentally beat down by this stuff, because that's what's happening. He's being mentally destroyed. And I used to get that way. I would like to think in 2025, I don't really get as mentally beat down by it because I know how unserious a lot of it is. But there have been a few issues I've had to escalate to police because I'm not risking certain things that go a little too far. And oftentimes it's not a little too far. Satellite imagery of my children at a school, that's more than a little too far. You know? So I just want to show some hope here. I want to show some encouragement. I want to support Landon through this and any other content creator. I don't care what space you're in. I don't care what religion or political affiliation you are. Any content creator going through this and having this be a regular part of their daily routine. I'm so sorry that people can't think better. People can't do better. People can't recognize a difference of opinion. Does not mean that we should be attacking each other in such ways, even if it's unserious. And I want to end with a positive note. I think Nintendo Land makes really good content. He is both critical of Nintendo when he feels like he needs to be and praising Nintendo when he thinks he needs to be. Obviously, he talks a lot about Mario, but he's had videos recently on Silk Song and other stuff as well that he enjoys. And I think he makes pretty good content. I think he makes better content than me. It's why he's a more popular content creator than me. He makes better, more creative stuff than I do, right? I'm a news channel. You know, I make maybe some of the most uncreative content on YouTube. I cover things that are happening in the news and I give opinions. I'm not out here trying to create deep discussion videos. Often, I do them once in a while. I'm not out here, though, trying to do that. I'm not out here reviewing games and products. And you know, I'm talking news, and then I have a podcast that I co-host, right? Like I make some, I don't want to say the easiest content, but some of the least creative content. And I think I'm okay at doing it. I think, you know, obviously I've garnered a following. I obviously think I do all right. I think Landon's a much more creative content creator than me, just like I think Andres Restart is, just like I think Beat 'em Ups and everyone else, you know, Wolf Den, even RGT. Like RGT does a lot of news stuff like me, but he also has some original videos he does as well that I think are highly creative compared to what I do. So I just want to say that, you know, Landon, you make good shit. keep making it. We'll have a private conversation that'll hopefully help you out a little bit. But in the end, I guess this is my plea to the internet to try to do better. Try to remember we're humans. We're not robots. We're people, right? We're people. You're a person. You have feelings. So do we. The difference is we're not trying to wish ill upon you because you disagree with us. So maybe just don't do that in kind. You think our titles are clickbait? You think our thumbnails suck? You think our content sucks? Cool, you can say that. But you don't have to go beyond that. Because now you're getting personal. Thank you guys for tuning in. Support you, Landon. We'll catch you in the next video.